What makes a good map? Every map is a simplified representation of the real world, so we have to decide what to include and what to leave out. In this video, I'm going to teach you 5 questions you should answer before you make a map. The first question is, what will people use this map for? Maps used for different purposes might look very different, even if they show the same part of the world. This map of central London is designed for people to navigate around by car, so it shows road names, but it doesn't show other features like bus stops. If we compare that to this tourist bus map, we can see it's completely different. It doesn't show road names, but it does show tourist attractions and the bus routes between them. So we have these 2 maps showing the same place, but choosing to show totally different information. People often use maps to make decisions, so a big part of map making is anticipating how people will use a map and making sure it includes the information they will need. So the second question is, what information do readers need? This is another map of London, which has been designed to be displayed on the street so that people can use it to navigate around that area on foot. The designers of this map have chosen to include information like how long it will take to walk to places and the names of prominent buildings that people might be walking to. If this map had been made for another reason, it might have included completely different information. The third question we need to ask ourselves is, what information do readers already know? This military map of London, created by the Soviet Army in the 1980s, was designed for use by that army in the event of an invasion. The people making this map would have known that their readers would be familiar with things like the specialist symbols you can see on this map. Using those symbols means that the map makers could squeeze in a lot of information that might not have been possible if the map was intended for a more general audience. Understanding what readers already know also helps us decide what not to include on a map. If our intended audience can be expected to already know an area well, we might be able to leave out things that we would otherwise have included. And leaving things out might actually make a map better if it means it's easier for the audience to focus on the main message from the map. But it depends on the needs of each map audience. The next question to ask ourselves is, in what context are people going to use this map? It's particularly important to think about whether a map will be static, for example if it's going to be printed out or distributed as a PDF, or dynamic, for example a map on a website. Dynamic maps can be zoomed in and out, and users can often choose to add or remove layers of information, whereas if you're making a static map, you need to choose the best scale and which features to include when you make the map. If your map is going to be printed out, you also need to think about whether it will still convey all the necessary information if someone, for example, photocopies the map in black and white. The final question to ask yourself when creating a map is, how could this map lead the audience to the wrong conclusion? Maps are powerful tools for communicating information about the world, so it's important to make sure our maps aren't misleading. For example, this map shows hotspots of violent crime in London. You can see that some of the hotspots are very small and some are much more diffuse. Humans tend to interpret larger areas of colour on maps as being more important, which could be misleading if a large diffuse hotspot actually had fewer violent crimes than a smaller but more intense hotspot. To prevent this, when I made this map, I numbered the hotspots so that readers could clearly see which places had the most violent crime. So in summary, every time you make a map, you should first think about, what will people use that map for? What information do readers need? What information do readers already know? In what context are people going to use this map? And how could this map lead the audience to a wrong conclusion?